morning, Canada. Welcome back to another episode of Crush Period. Today is the day before Halloween, October 30th. 30th of October, 2025. And we are in a bit of a pickle. Canada's in a wee bit of a pickle. You see, Canada somehow is the only country in the world. Literally, that's not like hyperbole. It's not an exaggeration. Canada, Canadian land, Snow Mexican, is the only country in the world that does not have a good trading deal with America. Every other country has almost secured a deal or is in talks of securing a deal with America land. Whereas Canada, for the second or third time now in the past 6 months, has had trade talks terminated with America. Even China, the Chinese virus, even China has a decent head start with trade talks with America. That's kind of interesting, huh? That's kind of interesting when you think about it. Trump just met with Xi Jinping yesterday, and the meeting was actually pretty decent. Trump said it's nice to sit down and meet with you again, and Xi Jinping said, "Let's make America great again." And it was all fun and games until a reporter at the very end asked a question and said, "Hey, so what's the deal with America testing nuclear weapons?" And then they just cut the feed. The video of that is on the main channel, Mr. Sunshine Baby. It's funny, but also like, who the hell do you think you are to ask that? And there's two takeaways. One is, I don't want to say it's a little conspiratorial, but one takeaway is that maybe the reporter, like, that was a pre-organized question to like establish a form of like dominance on China. Like, hey, yeah, we got nukes and we got a lot of them, but like, don't ask those questions. And the second is that was impromptu, and that was a very stupid and dangerous question to ask in front of the Chinese leader. But nonetheless, it happened. So America and China trade talks are in the mix. But this is a Canadian channel, House of Canada. So, of course, we got to take a look at what's going on with Canada and China. Well, Mark Carney is following in the shadow of President Trump, and Mark Carney is actually on his way to meet with Xi Jinping, China, to discuss trade. Now, this isn't the first time that Mark Carney has met Xi Jinping. Mark Carney met Xi Jinping many, many, many years ago when he either was the Bank of Canada governor, was the Bank of England governor, or shortly thereafter. But he's met Xi Jinping. There's photos. It's happened in the past. So we're going to have to wait and see how this plays out. But Canada is in a very unique situation because we are trying to pick a fight with America, and sucking up to China and cozying up to China is actually if the objective is to piss off America, then it's a very good way of doing that. I don't agree with it. I think that we should be BFFs forever. We should have friendship bracelets with America. We should be best friends with America, but we're not. We're not right now, and it sucks. So we have to look at everything objectively. As much as I want to be best friends with America, it doesn't seem like our leadership wants that. So what can we expect from a meeting between Carney and China? Probably expect the electric vehicle tariffs being removed or modified to be more advantageous for China, where they remove tariffs on our canola and farming industry. Probably something of that sorts. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is going to piss off America, because America doesn't want more Chinese stuff in North America. Trump doesn't want Chinese cars with LiDAR technology, with photo technology, being able to accumulate and map out Canada and America. So that's why we actually have tariffs on Chinese electric vehicles, is because America, actually Joe Biden asked demanded Canada put electric vehicle tariffs on or tariffs on electric vehicles for China, so that we don't really bring them into our land. And from a security standpoint, that kind of makes sense if you're like thinking that China is always the bad guy, which we kind of are, like for the most part, right? Like we're taught that it's in movies, China, Russia, the bad guys. Also historically, China like spies and interferes kind of with our elections. Like it's an ongoing thing, right? Now, does that mean that we are going to fully remove tariffs off of Chinese electric vehicles to purposely pick a fight with America? I think that's actually the goal from the Liberal government. So here we are, stuck between a rock and a hard place, where Canada is being used as a pawn for China and being used as a pawn for America, and we're being tossed around like a cheap whore. And I don't really like it because I can see that we are the cheap whore right now, and I don't want to be the cheap whore. I want to be, something a little bit better than that. But that's just the reality of Canada right now, is we can't really stand on our own 2 feet, and we're being tossed around, and it's a bit of a tug of war. But the problem is that we're naturally leaning, because of our Liberal government, towards China, which is going to make America tug on us a little bit harder. Maybe the metaphors aren't the best, but Canada's about to piss off America in a way that I don't even know if we're actually ready for. I don't know if we're physically ready to piss off America the way that Carney is ready to piss off America. But hey, it's okay, right? Because Canada is fine. Liberals will save us, as they've saved us for the past 10 years. Okay. There you go. I want to be wine and dined, right? Jasper wants to be wine and dined. I don't want to be a cheap hooer tossed around between America and China. We should be wine and dined, right? We should be treated like a pretty lady. And that's not the reality. That's not the reality at all. Anyways, we got a lot of stuff to take a look at before question period begins. So all I ask in return, it's for you to do. You know where I'm going with this, is to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, sit back, relax, and let's take a look at the news, because it sucks to look at the depressing Canadian news by yourself. So let's do it together. Let's laugh and cry together, shall we? I need a sip of coffee first. You guys like this shirt, by the way? Or these shirts? I love these shirts. It's needed. It's needed where I'm at. It's needed. Maybe I should just make this an ongoing thing. Remember in Friends, when Monica and the group of friends went on a vacation? Maybe she went to like Jamaica and she came back with like the braided hair or something, and she had the seashells in it, or maybe it wasn't braided, maybe it was dreads or something. You remember that episode? And she was just swinging her hair everywhere. And it's like, okay, you're back in New York. Like, stop that. You're not in Jamaica anymore. Maybe that's me. But instead of like long hair or seashells, it's just like these shirts. Like I just wear these shirts in snow Mexico in -40. All right. Anyways, let's move on, shall we? Because we've got a crazy opener here with the Globe and Mail reporting that Carney needs to meet Xi Jinping as he seeks to offset damage from U.S. tariffs. It's always America bad, right? U.S. is hurting us, so we got to run to China. Ugh. One of the last meetings on Mark Carney's whirlwind tour of Asia may be his most important. A Friday sit-down with Chinese President Xi Jinping as the Prime Minister seeks new markets to offset the economic damage that Donald Trump is doing to Canada. So it's not even American tariffs. It's not even the trade dispute and disagreement between Canada and America. It's specifically the economic damage that Donald Trump is doing to Canada. Don't listen to this. Like, yes, okay, there is economic damage, but putting that onus specifically on Donald Trump, this is why Canadian culture is so anti-American, because of crap like this. I don't like this. I don't like it. It pisses me off that media outlets keep pushing this narrative. Okay. Mr. Carney's tête-à-tête with Mr. Xi during the Asian Pacific Economic Cooperation Summit in South Korea will be the first formal get-together between the Canadian Prime Minister and Chinese President since 2017. Well, is that long since Trudeau went, eh? Oh, my goodness. Okay, I mean, that's 8 years ago. Holy crap, man, that's a long time. Relations have been in severe diplomatic chill since 2018 when Canada arrested a Chinese tech executive at the request of the United States, and in response, China jailed 2 Canadians. Mr. Carney's courting of President Xi is an abrupt change of course in Ottawa's approach to China, a country Ottawa characterized less than 3 years ago as increasingly disruptive global power. Well, that's what's throwing me for a bit of a spin. Is Trudeau, as much as he would say in that very famous line of his that he admires the Chinese communist dictatorship, our own government officials, even the Liberals, even Justin Trudeau himself, saw China as a bit of a problem for different reasons. Economic disruption, global power, they've been caught with dealing or interfering in some of our election process, like government officials or members of the CCP or however that works, right? And it's always been, well, it wasn't enough to swing an election in one way or another. So it's okay. They disrupted our elections, but you remember that? You remember that a couple years ago or whatever that was? Yeah. But so China's been kind of the bad guy. Justin Trudeau even listed China as a bit of the bad guy. And now we're cozying up to the bad guy, which is China. So China no longer bad, America bad, though. It's funny how that works, right? It's funny how how politics is actually a toxic cancer on a society. Trump's protectionism is driving U.S. allies to look far and wide for new markets, including those that countries such as Canada have often criticized as human rights abuses. So again, it's because of Trump. Trump is forcing Canada to go to China, even though China is a bit of a problem, right? And that's weird because Japan is like, yeah, we want to deal with America. Thank you, President Trump. European Union is like, yes, we want to deal with President Trump. Every country in the world wants it, even Hamas, right? We're going to blow you up. Even the Hamas terrorists want to deal with President Trump. Every fucking person, every country in the world wants to deal with President Trump. But Canada is a step ahead because President Trump is so bad that we're going all the way to China for a deal. You can't make this up. It's poetically retarded. Can I say that? Am I allowed to say that? I'm wearing a vacation shirt. Maybe if I do this, it's poetically retarded, brah. That eases it a little bit. It doesn't make any sense to me. It really doesn't. For a country and a political party to be viewed as so radically bad, which the Communist Party of China, the Chinese Communist Party, has been listed as from our own government. And now they're like, yeah, but Trump is way worse, man. So we got to go to China. The enemy of your enemy is your friend. So that's kind of what Canada's doing. It's weird. But now let's take a look here at CTV's report, shall we?
Now is Charles Burton, former Canadian diplomat in Beijing and senior fellow at Synopsis. He's also the author of The Beaver and the Dragon, How China Outmaneuvered Canada's Diplomacy, Security, and Sovereignty. Charles, thanks so much for your time. How challenging will it be to navigate trade talks with Xi? This is from a Canadian perspective with Mark Carney in light of current trade tensions.
Well, I think that Mr. Carney does face considerable challenges. The big issue for us is the 78.5% tariff on canola seeds. And, the canola export is a major part of the prairie economy. There are 40,000 farmers involved in canola farming. And we produce $12 billion worth of those little seeds a year, of which up until the Chinese imposed the tariffs, we were selling 4 to 5 billion just to China alone. So it's a major issue for the prairies. Prairie premiers would like Canada to remove the 100% tariff that we've imposed on the Chinese electric vehicles. That would cause considerable challenges for the auto sector in Ontario, as the Chinese EVs are heavily subsidized by the Chinese government, and also pose a security threat similar to Huawei 5G because of their capacity to gather data. So, he's really between a rock and a hard place here. It could be that he will attempt to revive the free trade negotiations that failed under Prime Minister Trudeau when he attempted to add some gender rights and labor rights conditions back in 2017. And it's also possible that he may agree with the Chinese that Canada can join their Belt and Road Global Infrastructure Program, which would lead to a lot of Chinese investment in developing Canadian ports and land transportation. But all of these things come at a cost, which is not making the Chinese upset with us over non-trade issues like China's interference in our democratic process, China's harassment of Canadians of Chinese origin, including Uyghurs and Tibetans, and China's pervasive espionage in our country. So we'll see.
Not to mention the fact that Canada recognizes Taiwan as its own country, yet China doesn't. And if you say that to China, remember like John Cena said, and the people of Taiwan, like he recognized Taiwan as its own country, and then he went on a massive apology tour in China and spoke like a bunch of Mandarin or something, right? Because he does that because he knows he's got so much business in China and he didn't want to piss off the CCP, he didn't want to piss off the people and lose part of his brand imaging. So he went and apologized for recognizing Taiwan as its own independent country. If I'm not mistaken, I don't know if I'm butchering those details, but Canada recognizes Taiwan as its own independent country. And that's a big problem for China. There's so many things that we've been told are wrong with China by our own government, by the Liberal government, human rights violations, slave labor, espionage. Like they just keep wanting to, they keep circling Taiwan. They keep wanting to maybe invade Taiwan. Like we're under the impression that these things are real. We've been told these things by our Liberal government. It's not a new Liberal government. Some of the people that are working for Carney right now, I know Freeland is laughing now. She's the envoy to Ukraine or whatever the hell she's doing, but she's, had issues with China, if I'm not mistaken. Dominic LeBlanc, like all these Liberal MPs have had issues with China in the past, but now all of a sudden China good, China very good. Something feels off with this. Something feels very, very off.
See what he comes up with. The meeting will take place our time early Friday morning.
Yeah, so with all that in mind, and you laid out the different interests from Canada's premiers, what are you hoping will come out of the Prime Minister's meeting with Xi Jinping, and what should be realistic? What are the realistic expectations?
I think realistically, we can't expect very much. I mean, it's certainly true that the Chinese central government can give Canada privileged access to their economy. I mean, they can say, well, we'll take Canadian soybeans and not take so many Brazilian ones. That's because of the nature of their system. I think that they'll only do that for us if we make the kind of concessions that I list. And that would include, in fact, not implementing Bill C-70, which came into law in June 2024, which calls for a registry of foreign agents in Canada. So it's really a question of the extent to which the government wants to prioritize the building of our prosperity through relations with China to counter the U.S. tariffs, or whether we continue to be concerned about China's threat to our security and sovereignty, which, has been a big issue over the past 2 years with the Ogg Commission and the revelations which came out in the Globe and Mail and Global News about Chinese malign operations in our nation.
Charles Burton is a former Canadian diplomat in Beijing.
Yeah, I mean, you're not crazy to think that China's been viewed as a bad guy, nor am I crazy to think that either. Our own Liberal government has been saying these things, that China actually is a bit of the bad guy and that we need to be very careful. But here we are trying to cozy up to China. It's different than how Trump is doing it. Trump wants to secure a trade deal with China to ease global tensions, to make sure that there's no breakout of war. He's the peace president. Trump wants to secure a deal with China because it makes China happy. It brings money in for America, brings money in for China. It eases the global tensions, and we can go back to just being a normal world where we're not like at the threat or the brink of World War III. Canada doesn't have the same leverage and doesn't have the same goal. Canada wants to cozy up to China because America bad and China not as bad. It's very weird and saboteur. It's like if one of your you're in a fight with one of your best friends, and so instead of fixing that relationship with your best friend, you say, you know what? I'm going to go find my best friend's worst enemy and I'm going to be friends with them to stick it to my best friend. Like that's literally exactly what's going on, right? If I'm not mistaken. It's a little bit more complicated, but to sum it up, it's kind of like that. So again, my opinion, I'd love to know yours. Maybe I'm missing something here. Maybe I got tunnel vision, but I've been told by my own government in Canada that China is bad and that we shouldn't trust them. And they've had espionage issues. They've been caught with espionage here in Canada, right? There's a lot of conflict that we've had with China, a lot of tensions with China. Now, yeah, easing those tensions is phenomenal if you're doing it for the right reasons. If you're looking to stick it to your best friend because you're in a bit of an argument with your best friend, so you're going to your best friend's enemy, right, to try and prove a point, then that's a little weird. Intentions do matter. I think, I don't know, they matter to me, right? Like maybe I'm not meant to be a politician or lead a country, but it matters to me. Maybe it doesn't matter to these guys. Clearly it doesn't. But it matters to me. So again, my opinion, I'd love to know what you guys think down below. Next up, we're going to take a look at CBC's version of what's to come. Because, well, Trump says that he's going to cut tariffs on Chinese goods after an amazing meeting with Xi Jinping. Let's have a look.
Prime Minister Carney is seeking to expand trade with Canada's Asia-Pacific partners. And right now, key Canadian industries are being squeezed by tariffs both from the U.S. and from China. This morning, U.S. President Trump and Chinese President Xi Jinping appear to be resolving some of their trade dispute.
Overall, I guess on the scale of from 0 to 10, with 10 being the best, I would say the meeting was a 12.
That's how Trump describes the meeting earlier today with Xi, his first with the Chinese leader since his return to the White House. It's also the first since Trump slapped punishing import taxes on China, Canada, and Mexico last March as the first salvo in what is now a worldwide tariff and trade strategy. China has been hitting back, throttling exports of rare earth minerals to the U.S. that threaten to disrupt American defense production and manufacturing in key industrial sectors. So let's bring in Laura Westbrook, who's covering things in South Korea. Laura, Donald Trump made it clear at the end of that meeting getting some kind of a trade agreement with Xi was key to the trade strategy. What are we hearing from him and U.S. officials as to how that meeting went today?
So even if America is now best friends with China, okay? Even if America is best friends with China, Canada making a trade deal with China isn't necessarily inherently bad. I do think that we need to strengthen our trade with other countries. Like we should try to bring more money, more investments into Canada. You know, that's like good. I don't want to say no to China because they're the devil, right? Like we have trade with China already. It's in the billions. I don't know how many billions, but it's in the billions. But it's the intention in which we're doing trade with China. It's not to just strengthen our ties with China and have better relationships and bring more Chinese investments into Canada and put some Canadian investments into China. It's because Canada wants a trade deal with China because we're trying to stick it to America. And I don't like that piece. Now, in money, in the stock markets and money in business and in trade deals, emotions don't really matter. It doesn't matter if someone's a dipshit. If money's being made, put emotions aside and you just make money, and it is what it is. That's just how the business world works. But with politics and geopolitical tensions with other countries, I don't know if I'm just being like a bit of a wuss, but I feel like intentions matter a little bit. And Canada's intention to have a trade deal with China, it's not genuine. It's to stick it to America. And that just rubs me the wrong way. I have a clear bias. I love America. I like America a lot. I worked with the American military when I was in the Canadian military. I really love America. And I think that we should be doubling down on trade with America, not sticking it to America by running to other countries. We can run to other countries and have better trade with other countries. But to me, I just feel like intention matters. Maybe I'm being a wuss. I don't know. But to me, it matters. And I don't know why. It's just a feeling. I got that gut feeling, and I got to speak about it.
Great pleasure to see you again. Good to see you again.
Well, he's certainly projecting a lot of optimism following that meeting. U.S. President Donald Trump described the meeting as amazing, while Chinese President Xi Jinping said that an important consensus had been reached. Now, when it comes to fentanyl, Donald Trump said that Chinese President Xi Jinping had agreed to take stronger action to stop the flow of the precursors to make the drug fentanyl. And so in response, the U.S. was cutting its fentanyl-related tariffs from 20% to 10%. And when it comes to rare earths, Donald Trump said that the supply of rare earths, that had now been settled, with China pausing its rare earth licensing regime for at least a year. Now, China dominates the global supply of rare earths that are used in everything from smartphones to EVs to missiles and drones. And it really went into this meeting from a strong position, leveraging its stranglehold on rare earths when it announced that it was expanding those export controls. Those have now been paused. Donald Trump also talked about semiconductors. He said that NVIDIA would be talking to China about exporting chips. He said the White House was a referee, although he did say that when it comes to those discussions, they would not involve the most advanced Blackwell chip. And another takeaway has been American soybeans. Now, Donald Trump said that China would resume purchasing American soybeans immediately. This will ease some of the pain of American farmers. They are a key support base of Trump, so that does provide him with a political win. And one of the other things that many people were watching was the issue of Taiwan. There had been some reports that Beijing wanted the White House to say that it opposes Taiwanese independence. Beijing claims Taiwan as its own, but Donald Trump said that Taiwan did not come up in talks.
Laura, Donald Trump is usually first
really
to set the narrative after he...
That's actually a really positive thing. Now, it's going to be, I believe, different for Canada than it was for Trump. Now, demanding or asking the United States president, like the president of the United States, Trump, to recognize Taiwan as a part of China instead of being its own independent country, that's like groundbreaking news. Like, that's insane. That shifts geopolitical tensions in like huge. It's like moving a mountain. Okay. That's a lot to ask of Trump. Just like how recognizing it's like the Palestinian recognition, like how Canada, UK, and some other woke countries recognize Palestine as as an independent state. I don't think Canada would retroactively pull back on recognizing Taiwan as its own independent state. So now it might be embedded in these trade negotiations. Maybe China just slowly loses this battle of Taiwan being recognized as a part of China. And then like the world has kind of moved on. Like most of the world recognizes Taiwan as its own independent country. So again, we're going to have to see, but maybe China throws it into the mix with Canada, saying, no, we will have a good trade deal, but Canada, you need to recognize Taiwan as a part of China. And I don't know if Canada will. If it means a multi-billion, here's where it gets really tricky. If China sweetens the pot with Canada and says, we will invest hundreds of billions of dollars in Canada, but you have to recognize Taiwan as a part of China, I think Carney would do it. Because if we're not making that much money with America now, and we could subsidize that money and make it with China plus some more, and all we have to do is recognize Taiwan as a part of China and instead of its own independent country, I truly believe, I don't agree with it, but I truly believe that the liberals would recognize Taiwan as a part of China. I think it would happen. It would piss off America. It would piss off a lot of the rest of the world. But it sticks it to America, and it gets a really good deal with China. I think that's going to be. We're going to have to wait and see in the next 24 hours how this works out. But remember what I just said, and if it happens, then we can all say, "Oh shit, Sunshine's smart." I don't know if I'm that smart, but we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Holds a summit meeting. What are Chinese officials saying, though, about the talks?
Well, thank you very much. It's a great
Yes, we have heard from state media, and they've said that Chinese President Xi Jinping said that China and the U.S. should focus on the long-term benefits of cooperation and not getting caught in what he calls the vicious cycle of retaliation. Now, he also added there were areas of cooperation, and that they included illegal immigration as well as artificial intelligence. He said that both teams should work to refine and finalize follow-up work as soon as possible. We've also heard from China's Commerce Ministry, who said that the U.S. would suspend its export controls on targeting subsidiaries of Chinese companies for at least a year, and that the U.S. had agreed to suspend new fees on Chinese-made ships at American ports also for a year. And so China would also suspend its own fees on U.S. ships. He also said that China would work with the U.S. to properly resolve issues relating to TikTok. That was something that many people had been looking out for, this transfer of TikTok's ownership to U.S. ownership. And Donald Trump will be going to China next April with President.
That's such a power move. A Chinese social media app got so influential, so powerful, and so embedded in our everyday culture that America's like, you have to sell this to us or else it won't exist. That's such a power move. It's pretty funny, man. The whole TikTok thing is so funny, but I don't really use TikTok. It's just, it's weird. It's so, like, out of all the social media apps, like, we know Facebook, we know Instagram, Meta, we know YouTube, like all these things they listen to your phone, right? You talk about Valentine's Day, and then next time you open your phone, you're gonna start to see some Valentine's Day ads or Valentine's Day like videos or something, right? But with TikTok, it's like a whole nother level, man. It's like things that you're thinking about. Not really, but kind of. TikTok is just, the algorithm is its own entity. It's almost alien. It doesn't make any sense how addicting the TikTok algorithm truly is. Which is also funny because it's different than the Chinese TikTok algorithm. They've got like science and math and history videos. They've got like the brain rot stuff too, but it's all weird.
Also making a reciprocal visit to the U.S., and some analysts have said that this could possibly lay the groundwork to see maybe a larger deal when Donald Trump visits China, if not before. But so when it comes to these talks, they've definitely dialed down a lot of the tension that we've seen. But analysts also say that the long-term strategic competition tension between these two superpowers, that remains.
Laura, thank you very much. Laura Westbrook.
I'm nervous for Canada meeting with China and trying to figure out a trade deal. I'm actually a little bit nervous because I feel like it's going to be a deal that specifically targets our relationship with America, Canada's relationship with America. It's going to be something that pisses off the United States on purpose for a reason. Liberal strategy, which I don't know if that's ever been common sense. I feel like it's the opposite. It's like a retardation strategy, but nonetheless, less than 24 hours and we're going to find out. Let me know what you guys think down below. Then we got to take a look at CTV, Tom Mulcair, and what he's got to say about Carney and Trump's cordial relationship. Seems to have won the day. Let's have a look.
All right, CTV News political commentator and former NDP leader Tom Mulcair joins us live this morning. Tom, great to see you. The president says he had a good conversation with Carney.
Good to be with you, Scott.
Hey, yeah, thanks so much. So the president said he had a good conversation. Carney kind of mirrored those remarks as well. Short on detail, of course, but what are you reading into those comments over the last few days?
Well, on a superficial level, I would say that the personal relationship between Trump and Carney, which has been quite cordial and respectful and warm, seems to have won the day because Trump really was in a mood to be petulant and to have a bit of a breakdown over Doug Ford's ads. That seems to be passing slowly. We had another hint that things are still moving along when Kirsten Hillman, Canada's absolutely outstanding ambassador to the United States, appeared by video conference before a Senate committee yesterday, and it was essentially, look, we're still talking. Now, she was careful not to say they're negotiating, but when you're talking with someone that you're trying to get a new trade deal with, to the untrained eye, that looks a little bit like negotiation. But Trump has said that he's hit pause. She was respectful of that. She even reiterated his line. And she also said very clearly that at the highest level, talks are continuing. She is our key person on this, and we're lucky to have her. She's really that good. She's developed over the years deep relationships in the United States. She was there during the Trudeau years. She continued under Carney, who would have been, it would have been easy for him to find somebody loyal to him to stick in that job as a reward. But she's been doing such a good job, and she's continuing to do so. I have every hope that things are going to start moving along apace.
So with U.S. trade talks, as you know, they're officially on pause, how does this impact Canada's strategy as the Prime Minister continues to meet with Asian leaders?
Well, that's important because Carney's been clear on that as well. He has a 10-year plan, and it's realistic to say 10 years, to double the amount of trade we're doing outside of the United States. So that would be an increase of $300 billion in trade outside the U.S. And it's an ambitious goal.
That's a little confident, like a little overconfident, don't you think? Instead of having a 4-year plan, which is, normal for a prime minister to go 4 years, he's got a 10-year plan. That means that we would have had liberal power in Canada for 20 years because Trudeau was in for 10. Oh my goodness. I hope it's not true.
But it's one that's realizable because he's got a clear plan and he's highly respected as he travels around the world. The other thing that we've got to look at is the fact that the Americans want to deal with Canada. Trump has replaced the person who gives him statistics on the economy and on finance. But guess what? Inflation is starting to hit home because you can't add $7,000 to the price of a pickup because of tariffs on steel and aluminum and $50,000 on the price of a house because of a 50% tariff on lumber and wood, because most of the lumber and wood that goes into American homes comes from Canada. So that's starting to hit home with the average American. They're feeling the pinch. Trump wanted that money so he could give tax breaks to billionaires. It's the ultimate con job, Scott, by Donald Trump. And, he's largely getting away with it, except as inflation creeps up, Americans are starting to twig to the fact that this is no magic remedy, these tariffs. And Trump, that's why he was fundamentally upset with Doug Ford spilling the beans about Ronald Reagan's opposition to exactly the type of tariffs that Trump had brought in.
So from what you can read over the past couple of days, how much progress do you feel the Prime Minister has made on this trip in trying to bolster trade with other nations outside the U.S., as he's talked so much about?
Well, you know the old taco rule, Trump always chickens out. So I'm afraid that he's a little bit concerned about that, and he's going to hold on for a little while. The talks, not the negotiations, the talks will continue apace in Washington, and lo and behold, suddenly we'll have some sort of breakthrough that will be thanks to Donald Trump. He'll announce it, and I
okay. So the thing to know about Trump is that when you think you figured him out, when you hello, am I having a stroke? When you think you figured him out, you quickly find out that you have not. The art of the deal, right? People have been trying to figure out how Trump does it and his style, and you can try to mimic his style, you can try to predict his style, but there's a reason why Trump is so well known. Even way before he was the president of the United States, the first and the second time. Trump is very, very good at deals, and I wouldn't bet against him. I just wouldn't. Historically, it's your odds are not in that favor. So the fact that analysts and world leaders think, oh yeah, we know Trump, taco, Trump always chickens out. It tells me something that, oh, okay, these people think that they've figured Trump out and Trump is going to do something so drastic that it's going to be like, oh, shit, we actually don't have him figured out. Oh, no. And I think that's part of the strategy. Now, unfortunately, how this affects Canada is Canada has been America's biggest trading partner, best friend for a very, very long time. And if you're to expect anything, if you fall into the category of you're under the belief system that Trump always chickens out, then of course, with the best and the biggest trade that America's had, which is with Canada, you'll sit on the impression that, oh, yeah, of course Trump is going to chicken out, right? Of course, he's not going to do that to Canada. There's no way. But there's also the reality of making an example out of somebody. And sometimes that example comes to the people closest to you. And in our case, that's us. That's Canada. So if you think that Trump always chickens out, I'm going to sit on the opposite side of that fence and say, I think he's going to make an example of Canada, where Trump doesn't always chicken out, where Trump can actually replace Canadian trade with a lot of other countries. I could be very wrong. I could be very, very wrong on this. Or we can wait and see if I'm right. And I don't want to be right on this. I hope I'm wrong. I hope that things get resolved between America and Canada, but I also do think that if Canada and Canadians still are under the impression that Trump always chickens out and, oh, it's just Trump throwing a tantrum and all those things, like, no, man, I think that Canada can very easily be made an example by America. And then Trump just stands gloriously above Canada and says, see what I'll do to my best friend and biggest trading partner? Don't fuck with America. Like, that very much could happen. And that wouldn't be good. I wouldn't want that to happen to Canada.
I think that will indeed be before Christmas, despite what the U.S. ambassador to Canada said, because we better not take everything that he says too literally, because he says things that can be rather hot under the collar and not very well informed.
Well, yeah, now that you brought that up, what do you make of that extra controversy, extra layer to all of this, the back and forth between the U.S. ambassador to Canada? It appears to be quite angry over Doug Ford's ad that ran in the U.S.
Well, if you're going to drop an F-bomb, you better show that it's something that's actually part of your vocabulary. I had a feeling that this was rather contrived. But at the same time, it was a way of him trying to channel his boss's supposed anger over this whole issue. Look, if you take the 5 minutes to watch what Ronald Reagan said and you watch Ontario's ad, no daylight between them. Clear as a bell, it was a faithful reflection of what one of the best presidents in the United States history, Ronald Reagan, said. He says, tariffs don't work. They work short term. And Trump is very short term in his analysis of everything. What can I get today and let tomorrow take care of itself? That's his philosophy. But Reagan said, you've got to think long term. And he said, long term, tariffs produce trade wars, and they produce misery, and they bring on inflation, if not recession. That's what Trump didn't want the average American to hear. And that's what apparently a heck of a lot of Americans saw during the World Series as the Jays were beating up on the American teams.
And of course, we could talk about the Jays for hours and hours, but we.
Oh, man. Look at that little shit-eating grin. Look at that. The Jays are beating American teams. Canada's better than America. Come on, dude. Why can't these weirdos just leave sports? Tom Mulcair throws with his dominant hand the same way I would throw drunkenly, by the way, with my left hand, like a sissy. Just a little lob, right? Just like right? Like one of those, like a tennis, like one of those little noises. Come on, bro. Like people like this are literally trying to compare baseball to politics. And the Blue Jays are setting an example against America for the tariffs. It's no longer just about baseball. It's about nation versus nation. And we got to stick it to America. Like, shut the hell up, dude. Oh, my God. You got all these non-athletic people that have never played sports in their entire lives that are trying to bring politics into sports. That shit should be illegal. But I think I might have been guilty of it, too, in the past. I don't know. But it should be illegal starting now with Tom Mulcair. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna take a look at question period now. We're gonna take a look at question period. This is the last question period of the week, and the next time we do question period, I'll be back home. Just saying, I'll be back home. Now, question period's kind of funny right now because the mainstream media is trying to stream question period. And I've never seen this. Normally you see CBC stream question period when there's like a big, like the first day back or Trudeau resigning or Freeland announcing the budget and then never announcing it. Stuff like that. But CBC, mainstream media, they're actually trying to start the stream question period, which is pretty freaking funny. So we got to pump the numbers up. All right. We got rookie numbers right now. Pump the numbers up. Hit the like button. Share the stream out to people. All right. Hit the like. Subscribe to the channel. Share the stream out. Let's get more people in here. And let's show CTV. I think they got like 100 viewers right now. CPAC's got like 200. So we're crushing them. But we still got rookie numbers. We got to pump the numbers so we can piss on mainstream media. Because it's absolutely funny. I'm sitting here in a Hawaiian shirt. Throwing like Tom Mulcair. All right. So let's go. Let's have some fun today. W's in the chat. W's in the chat because it's going to be a good day. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Put some W's in the chat.
$6.5 billion. That's $6.5 billion, Mr. Speaker, that the Canadians are being deprived of while the Prime Minister tells them that families and young people have to make sacrifices. The Liberals like to congratulate themselves for these social programs that people have to use more and more, but this is unacceptable. Can the Prime Minister really understand the reality of those who are paying their taxes here in Canada?
No pants, Jasper. I actually am sitting here in my boxers.
Leadership Summit, hosted in Ottawa by the Canadian-Polish Congress in collaboration with the Polish Embassy and the Canada-Poland Parliamentary Friendship Group. This summit brings together over 30 young Polish-Canadian leaders from across the country who represent the future of Polonia in Canada, a community whose contributions have enriched our country for generations. As chair of the Canada-Poland Parliamentary Friendship Group and with my own Polish roots, I'm honored to be part of it because Poland is Canada's close ally, one of the fastest growing economies in the European Union and our largest trading partner in Central and Eastern Europe. Our Prime Minister and Prime Minister Tusk affirmed in August our countries are committed to strengthening our strategic partnership. This summit supports that effort for the benefit of both Poles and Canadians now and for years to come. Dziękuję bardzo, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Portage Lisgar.
The Prime Minister told us
to judge him by prices at the grocery store, so let's do just that. Food inflation has blown past the Bank of Canada's target. Canadians are now paying over $800 more for food this year than last, and 39% of Canadians have experienced food insecurity in the past 12 months. Yet the Liberals are plowing ahead with measures that will make groceries even more expensive. From the industrial carbon tax on fertilizer and farm equipment to the food packaging tax to their inflationary spending, the story is the same. And just this month, representatives of the Liberal government were at an international meeting backing the UN's net zero shipping tax. Do they not see the obvious? If you tax the farmer who grows the food, those who package it, and the shippers who move it, the prices are going up. Seniors are struggling to stay afloat. Parents can't afford to put a nutritious meal on their kids' plates. It's clear that Canadians simply cannot afford another dime in Liberal food taxes. So when will they stop driving up grocery store prices? And finally, just give families a break at the checkout line?
The honourable member for Orleans. Mr. Speaker, it's an honour for me to rise today to pay tribute to Juliette Trudeau, who is retiring after 39 years of dedicated service to the Parliament. Originally from New Brunswick, Julie started her career as a legal secretary before establishing herself in Ottawa in 86.
You, but I don't like that name.
She joined the House of Commons that year and became a ministerial assistant, and she has been working at the Surgeon-at-Arms office, where she has occupied various positions until she retired as a liaison officer. Throughout her career, Juliette showed discretion, impartiality, and exceptional discernment. And as she says, she has a doctorate in service to members. Juliette has supported generations of parliamentarians with professionalism and rigor. While she starts this new chapter of her life with her family and her grandson, we thank her sincerely for her dedication and her inspiring example. Congratulations, Juliette. We'll miss you.
Why would you want to live with the name Trudeau?
Questions. The honourable member for Regina Cabell.
Honourable Andrew Scheer.
Mr. Speaker, after 10 years of this Liberal government, elites and insiders have never had it so good. Meanwhile, this Prime Minister is telling young Canadians that they're going to have to sacrifice even more. And now we learn what all that sacrifice is going to. We learned today that these Liberals just paid out big bonuses to government officials. The Liberal Housing Agency, CMHC, whose main job is to make housing more affordable, paid out $30 million in executive bonuses at a rate of about $42,000 a pop. Each one of those could have been a down payment for a young Canadian. Why is the Prime Minister telling young Canadians that they're going to have to sacrifice so that he can pay off government insiders?
That's actually insane.
The Honourable Minister for Gender Equality, Women and Gender Equality, Tourism and Small Business.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Canadians made it clear in the last election they want more homes built, especially for young Canadians trying to buy their first home. And that's why this government is moving fast. We're cutting the GST for first-time home buyers up to $50,000 in tax relief and nearly $4 billion in savings, Mr. Speaker. This works on building on our first home savings account and the National Housing Strategy supporting purpose-built rentals for young Canadians. While Conservatives are voting down affordability measures, we're stepping up and taking care of young Canadians finally getting the keys to their first home. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Regina Capel.
Mr. Speaker, if flushing billions of tax dollars through big bureaucracies actually worked, we wouldn't be having this conversation. We've been hearing the same thing for 10 years from this Liberal government, and the results for young Canadians are terrible. The youth unemployment rate is now 15%. Young people are forced to move back into their parents' basement, and now the Prime Minister is telling them to sacrifice while he uses their tax dollars to pay off big bonuses for government officials. Do these Liberals not realize that young Canadians simply have nothing left to give?
The Honourable Minister of Jobs.
Got to make life more affordable in Canada.
What young Canadians want is a great job, and that's why we're making the investments not only in the things that they need, like good jobs, housing, major projects, to train our youth who want to do the work, Mr. Speaker. They want to be part of this transformation.
The honourable member for Calgary East.
The Prime Minister told young Canadians to make sacrifices while Liberal insiders and elites never had it so good.
Yeah.
Canadians are lining up at food banks while Liberals use tax dollars to hand out bonuses. CMHC execs got $30 million in bonuses for helping the Liberal housing crisis. EDC execs got $60 million in bonuses for Liberal mismanagement of COVID benefits. How many more sacrifices do young people need to make so the Prime Minister can keep lining the pockets of his insider buddies?
The Honourable Minister for Women and Gender Equality.
Mr. Speaker, this is coming from a member whose leader, when once responsible for this file, only built 6 homes in this country. Mr. Speaker, Conservatives claim to care about young people, yet every time a measure comes forward to actually support them, they vote against it. They voted against the National Housing Strategy, against the first-time home savings account, against expanding mortgage criteria, and now they won't even commit that GST cut that would save first-time home buyers $50,000. But don't worry, Mr. Speaker, Canadians can rely on our government and this side of the House to keep making life more affordable for Canadians. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Calgary East.
Housing was half the cost under our leader when he was the housing minister.
That's right.
And if all of those expensive programs work, 700,000 kids wouldn't be waiting in food bank lines every single month.
Exactly.
And rents have doubled. A PEI senior reported he's living out of his car because he can't afford rent. But this is the new normal in Liberal Canada. The only people eating and living good today are the Prime Minister and his elitist buddies. Why is he putting taxpayer-funded bonuses ahead of struggling Canadians?
The Honourable Minister of Jobs and Families.
Mr. Speaker, this morning I had the privilege of meeting with Minister Barb Ramsey of the Conservative government of Prince Edward Island. And you know what Minister Ramsey and I talked about? How pleased they were that we made the National School Food Program permanent. In fact, they've been able to drive down food hunger through National School Food Programs.
Okay, what about breakfast and dinner? What about weekends for kids?
That's working with them so that kids can eat
What about
in dignity
summertime?
no matter who they are, no matter where they go to school.
Life should be affordable for parents to buy food for their kids.
Mr. Speaker, the Liberals have been in power for 10 years now, and you know what? Nowadays, more than 600,000 Quebecers are going to food banks every month, while the Prime Minister's friends are filling their boots. Last week, he had the nerve to tell young people to make even more sacrifices, while BDC and CMHC execs are getting tens of millions in bonuses. Instead of telling our young people to make sacrifices, why doesn't the Prime Minister ask his friends to make some by cutting back on their compensation packages? Why doesn't he do that? The Honourable Minister of Government Transformation. Mr. Speaker, if my colleague wants to talk about nerve, they have the nerve to say things like that here in the House, but then vote against the measures we take to help the young and the vulnerable. For example, dental care that's helped thousands of people in his own riding. We could also talk about the hundreds of thousands of young people who have access to the school food program, which his colleague called garbage, Mr. Speaker. That takes a lot of nerve.
Well, make food affordable for parents to feed their own
Mr.
kids,
Speaker,
right?
they seem not to understand what ordinary people are going through. In Quebec, 600,000 people are now going to food banks. And at the same time, rents have doubled in all parts of Quebec, and the price of groceries continues to rise. Mr. Speaker, in the Journal de Montréal on the weekend, there was a front-page story about pregnant women cutting back on protein and vegetables. People don't have enough money to pay rent or buy groceries. Will the Prime Minister finally get the message and table an affordable budget so Quebec families can have an affordable life? The Honourable Minister. Mr. Speaker, what's absolutely astounding is that whenever they have an opportunity to vote on programs that would truly improve the cost of living for Quebecers and Canadians, they vote against it. When it's for children or for the dental care program, the school food program, which has been a huge success helping young people in Quebec. They talk a good talk, but every time it comes to a vote, they're missing in action. The Honourable Member for Saint-Jean. Mr. Speaker, 30 years ago, Quebecers came within a hair's breadth of creating their own country. Now the Yes camp is back in action. So to all Quebecers who were already part of it, let's roll up our sleeves and start again. To all Quebecers who, like me, were too young or not even born yet, or who changed their minds, or who are living in another country, now it's our turn. But it'll have to be done democratically. And the federal government is preventing that with its Clarity Act. So my question to the government, will they commit to respecting the will of Quebecers? The Honourable Minister of Canadian Culture and Identity. Quebecers and Canadians went to the polls, and the people of Quebec chose to elect twice as many Liberals from Quebec than members on the opposite benches. I knocked on hundreds of doors and spoke to hundreds of people, and you know what no one was asking for? Another referendum. And now today, we're tabling a budget that will help build Canada. That's what our constituents want from us. The Honourable Member for Saint-Jean. Mr. Speaker, the Minister can still join the Yes camp once he's made his mind up. But in the meantime, it's not him, it's the citizens of Quebec who will decide on their future. And the Quebec nation deserves to be able to make all its own choices, like other peoples on this earth. If the minister is sure of Quebecers' attachment to Canada, he shouldn't be afraid of democracy. If he thinks he's sure to win a future referendum, why doesn't he repeal the Clarity Act? The Honourable Minister. Mr. Speaker, we're dealing with important challenges. And here on this side of the House, and the majority of Quebecers, they think we're stronger, united to meet the challenge, the current day's challenges. The Bloc can do what it wants to do, but we're focused on unity and on the major, and we believe that we're stronger together than divided. The Honourable Member for Lac Saint-Jean. Mr. Speaker, Quebecers are a people
today, huh?
like any other people, neither better nor worse. Maybe a little cooler, though. We deserve to be sovereign in our own home, like all peoples of the earth. We deserve to have our voice heard in the world, like all other peoples of the earth. And above all, we deserve to make all our democratic choices ourselves, like all other peoples on earth. And that's the principle that the Clarity Act violates. It is literally English Canada retaining a right of oversight over our democracy. Will the government repeal this colonialist legislation? The Honourable Minister. It's quite interesting that the member talks about all peoples at a time when the government of Quebec has just tabled legislation without even consulting the Indigenous peoples of Quebec. No consultation whatsoever. So that's not how you work together, Mr. Speaker. And on this side of the House, we believe that we're stronger together. We believe in reconciliation with First Nations, and we consult with First Nations on all our legislation. That's how you build a country. The Honourable Member for Charlesbourg-Haute-Saint-Charles. Mr. Speaker, while Canadians are going without food because of high prices, the Prime Minister's friends continue to get richer. When he created the new Defence Procurement Agency, the Prime Minister quickly turned to Doug Guzman to fill the position of CEO and gave him a $700,000 salary. After all, with Liberals, once a crony, always a crony. But now he's forgetting that he's spending taxpayers' money, not Bay Street's. Can this Prime Minister stop asking young people to make sacrifices so that his friends get rich? The Honourable Government House Leader. The only question on everyone's lips is, will the Conservatives steal Christmas from Canadians by triggering an election?
The Liberals are the ones threatening an election.
We were just elected 6 months ago, and we got a mandate to build the strongest economy in the G7 and a strong country.
The Liberals are really starting to piss me off.
Housing and opportunities, job opportunities for young people from coast to coast to coast. Is that member going to steal Christmas, or will he support our young people by supporting our budget? The Honourable Member for Charlesbourg-Haute-Saint-Charles. Mr. Speaker, the Government House Leader, he's unique. There's no one else like him. And he's supporting the Liberals' mismanagement for 10 years and telling Canadians that everything's going tickety-boo. Are they going to table an affordable budget so that Canadians can have an affordable life? That's the question on everyone's lips. The Honourable Government House Leader. That is the question. That is the question. We are going to table an affordable budget based on a strong economy, which will guarantee a future and housing for our young people. It will guarantee training for our young people. The only question that remains is, are they going to steal Christmas, or are they going to take this opportunity to build a strong country with the best economy in the G7?
Member from Nanaimo, Ladysmith.
After 10 years of this government, Liberal elites and insiders have never had it so good. But the Prime Minister told Canadians they need to sacrifice. He promised he would spend less, but instead he spends more. The latest example, the head of his new defense investment agency, who has never served, will draw a $700,000 salary. Meanwhile, rent has doubled, food banks are breaking records, and seniors are living in their cars. How much more do young Canadians have to sacrifice so this Prime Minister can hire his buddies?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Financial Institutions.
Mr. Speaker, I don't know where the party ops has been for the last 4 months, but we've been traveling in the country listening to Canadians. On November 4th, we will table a generational budget, Mr. Speaker. We will spend less in government operations. We will invest more in Canada. We will invest more in Canadians, Mr. Speaker. We will invest in infrastructure, defense, national projects, housing. Mr. Speaker, on this side of the House, we believe in Canada. We will build our country and our economy and the strongest economy in the G7. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable member for Nanaimo, Ladysmith.
Tell that to the 700,000 kids lined up at
Yeah. Brutal.
They have to sacrifice for Liberal insiders. Canadians need a government that puts ordinary families first. While Canadians are sacrificing, the Prime Minister is handing out $700,000 salaries to his high-flying buddies like Halloween candy. When will this Prime Minister stop using taxpayer dollars to line his friends' pockets and finally give Canadians an affordable budget for an affordable life?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Labour.
How about the Conservative Party apologize to all the kids who take benefit of the National School Food Program, Mr. Speaker? They called it garbage last week, and they claimed it doesn't feed a single child. On the contrary, it feeds 400,000 kids every year, helping them to learn, helping them to focus, be ready for a full day of school. This is about giving every child an opportunity, no matter where they live, no matter where they earn. Mr. Speaker, I ask the members opposite, now that it's known, will they correct the record and apologize, or will they ruin Christmas with a Christmas?
The Honourable member for
Why are they trying to say it's the Conservatives are going to win Christmas with an
Years
election?
of this government, Liberal
very
elites and
annoying.
insiders have never had it so good. The Prime Minister promised to cut high-priced consultants, but has already broken that promise. In 3 years, consultant spending soared more than 30%. This Prime Minister said he'd do things differently. According to him, differently is spending more than a record $26 billion on consultants. Another broken Liberal promise. Will the Prime Minister cut the costly consultants so Canadians can afford to eat?
Good question. That's a good question.
The Honourable Secretary of State for the Secretary of State. Yeah. The Honourable Secretary of State for Rural Development.
Mr. Speaker, I reject the premise of that question, Mr. Speaker, because we all know on this side of the House the Conservatives never gave a dang about the low-income people and never will, Mr. Speaker.
There you go.
So I would point again, a memo to the Conservatives. Canadians don't want a a Christmas election, first of all. The second thing is I would ask the leader of the
so don't call an election.
The member would like it from the top. Go from the top.
So, Mr. Speaker, as I speak about the challenges in this country, I'm going to ask the leader of the opposition, what did he take for severance when the current member from Carleton defeated him at the polls? How much did he take, Mr. Speaker? Excellent.
Well, member for Leeds, Grenville, Thousand Islands.
Well, this Prime Minister and these Liberals are asking students to make sacrifices, and Canadians are lined up at food banks in record numbers. Their use of their well-connected friends and high-priced consultants is driving costs up, like the Benefits Modernization Program that the Auditor General says is ballooned by an additional $1.3 billion and could hit as high as $8 billion. Canadians can't afford this Liberal government when we see layoffs from coast to coast to coast that we've never seen before. Why is it that Canadians are being asked to make sacrifices while these Liberals continue to reward well-connected Liberal consultants?
The Honourable Government House Leader.
I love Michael Barrett, by the way.
Mr. Speaker, this from the member who, when asked about his leader's comments on the RCMP, said, "I'm sorry, I have a lozenge in my mouth." So what I would like to ask that member is, will he take out his lozenge, go over and talk to the leader of the opposition, say, don't be a Grinch, don't cause a Christmas election, vote for this budget, and make Canada the best economy in the G7.
Honourable member for Leeds, Grenville, Thousand Islands, Rideau Lakes.
Well, I can tell you that a lot of Canadians feel sick after these Liberals continue to inflict their out-of-control spending on consultants. Last year alone, over $20 billion on well-connected Liberal insiders getting contracts. And this year, I think the number said that it's going to go as high as $25 billion. Why won't they put Canadians first? Instead of asking young people to make sacrifices, why won't they cut out their well-connected friends, put Canadians first, and deliver a budget that Canadians can actually afford?
Yeah.
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Instead, the Liberals are going to tank the budget and force an
choice
election.
of cold remedy, we will be putting a budget before this House next week. This member will have an opportunity to vote for opportunities for young people, for UTIP grants to unions so that we can create skilled trade jobs, unionized skilled trade jobs on major projects in this country, so that we can fund science, so that we can fund education, so that we can give a raise to our military personnel. Mr. Speaker, please vote for that budget. Don't cause
The Honourable Member for Jonquière. Mr. Speaker, yesterday our forestry industry and its workers were here on the Hill to call on Ottawa to finally support them in their dispute with the Americans. They're asking the federal government to pay them 50% of any future countervailing duties. This is a no-cost measure since we know the American duties are illegal, and ultimately our producers will get reimbursed. But it's crucial for the survival of our sawmills. Yesterday, the minister appeared open to the idea, so it's up to her to turn this openness into action. Will she? The Honourable Minister of Canadian Culture and Identity. I'd like to thank my honourable colleague for that question. Last Friday, with my colleague from Les Pays d'en Haut, we met with the mayors in the Laurentide region and to talk about the $500 million available through BDC rather. And we are going to be there to support the industry and its workers through these tough times. The Honourable Member for Jonquière. Mr. Speaker, it seems the Liberals have been duped as well. It seems they believed their prime minister when he said there would be a deal with the Americans in July, and then that there would be one this fall. But there is no deal, and it's clear there is no savior in the Liberal Party. It's a rude awakening. It hurts, but they have to finally understand the urgency of protecting our economy. Our forestry industry is calling for support in the face of countervailing duties. They need a wage subsidy to protect jobs. When will the Liberals finally do something? The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary. Mr. Speaker, I'd like to thank my colleague. We fully agree with him that this is an unjustified situation. The tariffs are unwarranted, and we hope to work with all members, the 40 members from Quebec in particular, to help our softwood lumber industry. Earlier, the minister mentioned that there's $1.25 million in support, and we want to do even more for our lumber industry.
After 10 years of this government, Liberal friends and insiders have never had it so good. We just learned that the government's own housing agency just doled out over $3.6 million in bonuses to all but one of their 86 executives. That's about $43,000 per executive. Meanwhile, rents have doubled, mortgage payments have doubled, home prices have doubled. I'm just wondering if the minister can tell Canadians who cannot find a home how much more he requires them to sacrifice while he pays his executive bonuses.
Honourable Minister of Artificial Intelligence and Digital Innovation.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well, the opposition keeps talking down our country. We are building it up. They talk down our housing as shacks in Soviet style. They talk down our police as despicable. They talk down our school food program as garbage. Meanwhile, here's some good news, Mr. Speaker. The only thing going down are interest rates. Meanwhile, we're working hard building affordable housing, hiring 1,000 new RCMP officers, and our national food program is feeding hundreds. Why don't they join us in building up the country instead of tearing it down?
The honourable member for Parry Sound Muskoka.
Mr. Speaker, food bank visits have skyrocketed to 2.2 million this year. Home prices are 54% higher today than they were in October 2015. The CTV reported this morning that a 76-year-old man in Prince Edward Island has been living in his car for the last 2 months because he cannot afford rent. The Prime Minister has told young Canadians that need to sacrifice. So the question is very simple. How much more sacrifice do you require from struggling Canadians to pay executive bonuses?
The Honourable Minister.
Thanks for the question, Mr. Speaker. We are doing everything to build this country up strong. The Conservatives are talking it down. They talk down our housing program. They vote against affordable housing. They vote against school food programs. They vote against hiring 1,000 RCMP officers. The hard work right now is to build this country up. We've got a budget coming November 4th. I hope they join us in doing the hard work and build this country up and avoid a Christmas election. Fight for this country.
Well, it's for sure going to happen now, so keep threatening it.
Mr. Speaker, after 10 years of these Liberals, insiders have never had it so good. Canadians made 2.2 million food bank visits last year, including 700,000 children. And seniors are living in cars because rent has doubled. Meanwhile, this government gave $1 billion to buy boats from Beijing, offshoring Canadian steel, shipbuilding jobs, while executives at the Canadian Infrastructure Bank pocketed fat bonuses. They laugh all the way to the bank, while Canadian workers cry all the way to the food bank. When will this Prime Minister stop lining the pockets of insiders and start delivering an affordable life for Canadians?
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Well, I want to thank my honourable friend who's also the transport critic, and I will tell him that next week, November 4th, there's going to be a budget that solves the problem that he and I want solved, the problem of Drivers Inc. The Minister of Finance announced today that measures are going to be taken to make sure we restore labour standards and fairness to the trucking industry in this country. That's going to be in the budget. Will this member, I'm asking him, walk down the aisle, tell the Grinchy leader of the opposition, vote for the budget, don't ruin Christmas, build Canada strong, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Okanagan, Lake West, South Kelowna.
I didn't expect the minister to ask me to walk down the aisle with him. Canadians made 2.2 million food bank visits last year,
probably get in
while
trouble for that
seniors
joke.
are sleeping in cars cars because rent has doubled. Yet this Liberal government sent $8 billion taxpayer dollars to buy boats from Beijing and handed out eye-popping bonuses at the Canadian Infrastructure Bank. Why is this Prime Minister using taxpayer dollars to reward insiders and offshoring Canadian jobs instead of helping Canadians afford the food and a roof over their heads?
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Well, I want to once again thank my honourable friend and tell him I'll walk down any aisle that he wants to walk down if he'll just walk down a few steps and tell the grinchy leader of the opposition we don't want a Christmas election. We want to support a plan that gives raises to the military, that keeps that shipbuilding industry in Vancouver humming, building ships for the Coast Guard and the Canadian military. All of this is going to be in our affordable, great economy-building budget on November 4th. Will that member do the right thing? Tell the leader of the opposition we don't want a Christmas election, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Lévis-Lotbinière. Mr. Speaker, while Canadians are struggling, it's the festival of bonuses for Liberal elites and insiders. Executives at the Business Development Bank of Canada got an average of $216,000 in bonuses. At Via Rail, it was $110,000 in bonuses. And at Export Development Canada, $143,000 in bonuses, Mr. Speaker. The Liberal Prime Minister is asking young people to make sacrifices, but not his buddies. Can this Prime Minister stop asking young Canadians to make sacrifices to enrich his buddies?
Great question.
The Honourable Minister of Government Transformation. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well, you know, listen, we've already seen him do better than that, Mr. Speaker. In terms of his question, he wants to talk about sacrifices. It's a bit hypocritical on their side. They're ready to sacrifice the Canada Child Benefit. They're ready to sacrifice dental care. They're ready to sacrifice the National School Food Program. They'd be ready to sacrifice, Mr. Speaker, an increase in salary for our armed forces. Mr. Speaker, you know, the official opposition leader was ready to sacrifice one of his own MPs to get elected a couple of months ago, so we understand that they understand sacrifices over there.
That's a little weird, because that's what Carney did to Chandra.
Mr. Speaker, money laundering, fraud, and financial crimes fuel organized crime, undermine confidence in our financial system, and contribute to serious challenges like the opioid crisis and rising housing costs in British Columbia. Our government has taken decisive action in recent years through major legislative reforms, but the sophistication of these crimes means we must remain vigilant and we must do more. Can the Secretary of State for the CRA and financial institutions update the House on how our government is strengthening enforcement to better detect and disrupt financial crime?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Financial Institutions and...
Mr. Speaker, I want to thank my colleague.
Just a moment. I just want to warn some members in this corner that we have to keep the level of noise down so that we can hear the Secretary of State for Financial Institutions and the Canada Revenue Agency.
Mr. Speaker, I want to thank my colleague for this important question. Last week, our new Liberal government introduced that on November 4th, our very first budget will take decisive action to safeguard Canadians' financial information and life savings. All of us in this House have had cases of heartbreak, especially seniors being defrauded. That's why we will introduce several measures in Budget 2025 to combat financial crimes, such as federal anti-fraud strategy, a dedicated financial crimes agency, and a code of conduct to combat economic abuse. Budget 2025 will build Canada strong by protecting...
The Honourable Member for Louis Saint Laurent Akiawenrak. Mr. Speaker, for 10 years the Liberals have been completely mismanaging taxpayer money. And the Auditor General has given us a terrible example. The Canada Revenue Agency signed a contract for 10 years for a new telephone system with a budget of $50 million. Do you know how much it's cost them so far? $190 million, and it might go up to $217 million, 4 times more than what was expected. That's Liberal management. Will the Liberals finally understand that they need to stop wasting money and put in place measures so that people can have an affordable life? The Honourable Minister of Government Transformation. And I'll be happy to brief my colleague from the opposition so that he understands the nature of that contract, which was a competitive bid where the fees of $190 million over 10 years were included in the initial contract. We got good value for money. If you'd like to know more about that specific instance of procurement, I'd be happy to brief him on that. Otherwise, I would invite him to listen to what was said at committee recently, where the president of Shared Services Canada explained the situation. The honourable member for Louis Saint Laurent. Mr. Speaker, I would invite everybody to listen to what happened at committee about the CRA. It was very instructive on the completely irresponsible way that they have been managing the CRA for the last 10 years under this Liberal government. The result, Mr. Speaker, is what? Well, it means that there are 2 million Canadians who are going to food banks right now. The cost of housing has doubled since these people have been in power. And what has the Prime Minister asked for from young people? More sacrifices. When will the government understand that they need to stop wasting, that they need to put in place real measures so that all Canadians can have an affordable life? The Honourable Minister. Mr. Speaker, what we promised Canadians and young Canadians, and the reason why they're on that side of the House and we're over here, is we promised a serious plan for Canada's economy by making key investments to build Canada's economy while reducing the cost of living, while increasing the cost of purchasing power. That's what we did by lowering taxes for 22 million Canadians. That's what we're going to do on November 4th. I would invite the member to support us.
For Calgary Crowfoot. Mr. Speaker, after 10 years of this government, Liberal elites and insiders have never had it so good. But the Prime Minister told young Canadians that they are the ones who need to sacrifice. So while young Canadians have given up on home ownership, the Auditor General reports that the CRA allowed a telephone system contract to go from $50 million to nearly $200 million while they still don't answer the phone. Will the government deliver an affordable budget that reins in sweetheart deals for insiders? Yes or no?
Yeah, you got
The Honourable Minister of Emergency Management and Community Resilience.
Mr. Speaker, one thing is clear. Investing in housing is one of the most effective ways to tackle food insecurity. In the last 6 months, in my home riding of Edmonton Centre, I announced over $400 million in infrastructure investments and affordable housing. We're not asking young people to make sacrifices or Canadians to make sacrifices. We're asking the Conservatives to support our generational budget so we can keep building homes and make life affordable for Canadians.
Honourable member for Calgary Midnapore.
After 10 years of this Liberal government, elites and insiders have never had it so good. Meanwhile, the Prime Minister's message to young Canadians is to continue to sacrifice. While Canadians are lining up at food banks, billions of their tax dollars keep going to consultants, $25 billion, in fact. Consultants that don't stick to budgets or, according to the Auditor General, don't even deliver results. So why doesn't this Prime Minister make his friends and insiders sacrifice instead of young Canadians?
The Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, as I said, one of the biggest drivers of food insecurity is the cost of housing, and that's why we're focused on getting more homes built. That's how you make life affordable for Canadians, and we're starting to see progress. Projects are breaking ground, rents are starting to level off, and more families are moving into homes that they can afford. The Conservatives can criticize all they want, but if they really wanted to help families with affordability, they'd support our budget.
Honourable member for Calgary Midnapore.
The numbers don't lie. Canadians have made a smashing 2.2 million food bank visits. Over 700,000 are children. 700,000, Mr. Speaker. Canadians are living in their cars. They are struggling. They can't afford food and they can't afford homes. These are facts. So why won't the Liberals admit that their programs aren't working and that they will choose their friends and insiders over Canadians every single time?
While they keep doing it, it's hard to deny.
You know, Mr. Speaker, I've noticed that the Conservatives have stopped quoting the report from Food Banks Canada. And you know why, Mr. Speaker? Because in that report, in fact, what Food Banks Canada said is that there are some promising signs from the federal government. Things like Canada Disability payment for the very first time, something those guys voted against. The Canadian Dental Care Plan that's bringing down costs of dental care for Canadians, Mr. Speaker, a national food program, and a national housing strategy that's focused on market rent housing. Mr. Speaker, that's what they're prepared to throw away.
The honourable member for St. Albert, Sturgeon River.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister stands to make tens of millions of dollars in future bonus pay from 3 investment funds that he registered in Bermuda and the Cayman Islands. So a simple question, how many other investments does the Prime Minister have in offshore tax havens?
Good question.
That's a phenomenal question.
Government House Leader.
That member knows very well that all members in this House must abide by some of the strictest, most stringent ethics rules in the world. The Prime Minister has not only met but exceeded his requirements under those ethics guidelines, Mr. Speaker, and he will continue to do so.
The honourable member for St. Albert,
He's making himself richer by the way.
Mr. Speaker, expert testimony reveals that the Prime Minister's company, Brookfield, is the biggest tax dodger in Canada, having avoided paying a staggering $6.5 billion in taxes in just 5 years. As chair of Brookfield, the Prime Minister registered 3 investment funds in Bermuda and the Cayman Islands, in which he stands to make millions. So again, how much does the Prime Minister have in offshore tax havens?
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Once again, Mr. Speaker, Canada lives under the most stringent and strong ethics guidelines for designated public office holders in the world. All members must comply with these requirements. These requirements are met very transparently, including the Prime Minister's, which is all, of course, available for the public to view. These ethics guidelines in Canada are strong, and we should be proud of that, Mr. Speaker.
For St. Albert, Sturgeon River.
Mr. Speaker, the Liberals speak of a stringent and robust regime, yet the Prime Minister's company, Brookfield, registered multiple funds to a bike shop in Bermuda, all to avoid paying taxes in Canada, a bike shop. The Prime Minister is dodging a simple question, so I will ask it again. How much money does he have in offshore tax havens? Just a number, please.
The Honourable Secretary of State for Financial Institutions.
Mr. Speaker, on April 28th, Canadians had a choice between a leader with world and business experience versus a leader with no experience outside of this House. Canadians spoke loud and clear. They elected a leader that's going to build Canada, invest in Canada. They elected a leader that's going to make Canada the strongest economy in the G7. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Member for St. Albert, Sturgeon River.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister refuses to come clean about his offshore tax havens. Meanwhile, he lectures young Canadians that they need to sacrifice more. Well, after 10 years of these Liberals, they can't afford food, they can't afford rent, they have nothing left to give. So when will the Prime Minister park his hypocrisy, come clean, and tell us how much cash he has stashed in offshore tax havens?
The Honourable Secretary of State.
Mr. Speaker, while the party opposite is focused on their leader, we're focused on Canada. We're focused on building our economy, the strongest in the G7. Mr. Speaker.
You're getting heckled hard.
I couldn't hear. So if the Honourable Secretary of State would like to start from the top, that would be ideal.
Start from the top.
Mr. Speaker, the party opposite has had a bad week. We understand that. They're focused on their leader and they're focused on a revolting caucus. But on this side of the House, we are focused on building Canada. We are focused on investing in Canada. On November 4th, we will come forth with a budget that will invest, build our economy into the strongest into the G7. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Terrebonne. Mr. Speaker, we have the industries, the innovators, and the workers ready to deliver the advanced technologies that our armed forces and our allies need, from aerospace to cyber systems. Can the Minister of Government Transformation please explain to the House how Buy Canadian will ensure that federal procurement supports the development of a strong Canadian defence and security industry, that it strengthens our supply chains and builds a more resilient and prosperous economy for all Canadians? The Honourable Minister. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I'd like to thank the honourable member for Terrebonne, and I'm very happy to say that to the member for Terrebonne. Happy to see her with us here in this House, and I thank her for her excellent question, Mr. Speaker. It's an excellent question because I know that there are a lot of businesses in her riding for whom it's important that we buy Canadian. What does it mean to buy Canadian? It means that we prioritize Canadian businesses, that we have requirements for Canadian content. It means helping SMEs so that they can participate in federal procurement. It means supporting Canadian businesses in aerospace, in naval construction, in AI, in manufacturing. And Mr. Speaker, we're going to go forward because we know that contracts are always better than handouts.
The facade has been exposed. The Prime Minister's claim of being a master negotiator is pure fiction. Every time the Prime Minister meets with foreign leaders, it's Canadian farmers who suffer the consequences. Now India has slapped a 30% tariffs on Canadian yellow peas. This is when farmers are already suffering from crippling tariffs from China on peas, canola, beef, seafood, pork, and other commodities. Now India has taken another step, and every time the Prime Minister travels, it's farmers who feel the pain. Yeah. So why is it that Canadian farmers are the ones paying the price for the Prime Minister's vanity tour?
The Honourable Minister of Foreign Affairs.
He's actually causing more damage.
Mr. Speaker, numerous times I have reiterated in this House the importance of diversifying Canada's supply chains. Over the past number of months, I have spoken with my counterpart in Pakistan. Pakistan is one of the world's largest importers of canola. This morning, he confirmed to me that Pakistan will open its doors to Canadian canola. In fact, he confirmed to me that orders have already been placed for Canadian canola. This is great news for Canadian farmers.
Congratulations, Canada. We have a trade deal with Pakistan.
Canada strong.
The honourable member for Foothills.
Thanks to the Liberal trade failures, now 80% of Canada's pea markets are facing tariffs. That is the fact. Every time this Prime Minister travels, it's Canadian farmers who are suffering the consequences. Let's look at the Liberal scoreboard. In China, 100% tariffs on Canadian peas and canola, 25 on pork and seafood, and Canadian beef has been blocked since 2021. United Kingdom does not take Canadian beef and pork. Meanwhile, imports from the United Kingdom and beef has skyrocketed. Now India slapped a 30% tariff on Canadian peas and 10% on lentils. Will the Prime Minister stop the photo ops and get tariff relief for Canadian farmers who are just trying to feed?
The Honourable Minister of Foreign Affairs.
Mr. Speaker, I'm going to reiterate that we are actively making sure that countries hear the interests of Canadian farmers, Canadian suppliers, Canadian producers. Not only is Pakistan opening its doors to Canadian canola, I raised potash and canola, agriculture and seafood in my recent trip to the Indo-Pacific, and the governments with whom I spoke assured me that we will continue to work together to build economic supply chains across the Indo-Pacific, which is why the Prime Minister is in the region right now.
The Honourable Member for Souris Moose Mountains.
You can't make this up, dude.
Mr. Speaker, prairie farmers don't want handouts. They want a trade deal. China's unfair tariffs on Canadian canola have cost billions of dollars and punished our producers. The canola sector is bigger than Canada's steel, aluminum, and auto sectors combined. Yet this government, they treat it like an afterthought. Now the Prime Minister is in China meeting with President Xi. Will he finally reach a deal to lift these punishing tariffs or come back once again empty-handed, proving that when it comes to standing up for Canadian farmers, this Prime Minister is all talk and no trade?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Agriculture and Agri-Food.
Canola farmer produce the best canola in the world, and we know
know, China has imposed unfair tariffs on canola. We're working on it. The Prime Minister and the Minister of Agriculture is currently in Asia, diversified our trade, but also resolving dispute resolution. And Pakistan now opens the door to our canola. But in the meantime, Mr. Speaker, we will be there for our farmers with programs to support them during this difficult time, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Mississauga Centre.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Merci, Monsieur le Président. There are now less than 100 days until the 2026 Milano Cortina Olympic and Paralympic Winter Games. Our government recognizes that athlete health and well-being are foundational to performance, and we want all of Team Canada to know when you're representing the country we all love, we have your backs. Can my good friend and colleague, the Secretary of State for Sport, share how our government is supporting Team Canada Olympic and Paralympic athletes and their coaches? And while I have the opportunity, Mr. Speaker, let's go Blue Jays.
The Honourable Secretary of State for Sport.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. On Monday, I announced more than $3 million of an investment in mental health for athletes to support the Canadian Olympic and Paralympic institutes and networks across our country, supported by the Canadian Olympic Committee and the Paralympic Committee. And, Mr. Speaker, we're also supporting Game Plan, the Canadian National Team Total Wellness Program. These investments are critical because our government knows health and mental health and overall well-being are foundational to the performance and the success for our national team athletes in sport and in life. Mr. Speaker, Canadians are proud of our athletes, and teams with the 2026 Winter Paralympic and Olympic Games coming up, fast approaching, Canada's new government is committed to supporting Team Canada.
The honourable member for Elgin, St. Thomas, London South.
Mr. Speaker, Canadian youth are struggling, but Liberal elites have never had it so good. Youth unemployment is at 15%. Young people are writing off the dream of home ownership as simply a fantasy. But the gravy train is chugging along for the Prime Minister's friends. 79% of Export Development Canada executives cashed in bonuses averaging $143,000 each. BDC executives got bonuses averaging $216,000 each. The Prime Minister's housing agency paid out over $30 million in bonuses. Will the Prime Minister ask his elite Liberal insider friends to make sacrifices instead of young Canadians?
Yeah, good job, dude. Andrew Lawton's pretty decent.
Speaker, little known fact because it wasn't exactly a bestseller, but that man was Pierre Poilievre, the leader of the opposition's biographer. His biographer? Now, that would mean that he knows some intimate secrets about the leader of the opposition. What I suggest is that he walk down a few stairs, talk to his boss, tell the leader of the opposition, that Grinchy guy, don't steal Christmas from our kids, don't cause a Christmas election, vote for this budget that's going to help Canadian youth and build the best economy in the G7.
The honourable member for Vancouver Kingsway.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister says he wants to make generational investments in nation-building projects. New Democrats agree. We also know that a healthy economy needs a healthy workforce. The NDP pioneered dental care and pharmacare because they deliver essential primary health care to Canadians. We believe every Canadian should have head-to-toe health care regardless of their ability to pay. Will the Liberals acknowledge that universal public health care is nation-building and reflect that principle in their budget next week?
The Honourable Minister of Health. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to thank my colleague from the opposition for his question. You know, I am the Minister of Health, and my role is first and foremost to defend the Canada Health Act. So I can guarantee to my colleague that before and after the budget, certainly we will defend universal health care for Canadians. Thank you.
Member for Vancouver East.
Deep cuts are being planned for the arts and culture sector in the upcoming budget. Festival and events could lose $22.5 million, reducing their funding to 2007 levels. The Canada Arts Council could face a $50 million cut. Arts and culture not only feed our soul, they are a major economic driver, contributing $65 billion to Canada's GDP in 2024, generating $17 billion in federal and provincial tax revenue. Funding should be increased to support these made-in-Canada jobs. Will the Minister of Finance scrap these cuts?
Hear, hear.
The Honourable Minister of Canadian Identity and Culture.
for her question. In fact, between 2015 and 2024, this government has doubled the funding for the arts and culture sector in this country. We have double the funding for the Canada Arts Council. We will continue to be there for our artists and for our cultural sector, Mr. Speaker.
I would like to draw the attention of members to the presence in the gallery of the honor.
All right, folks, that is it. Thank freaking goodness. No question period tomorrow for me. I will see you guys back here, I believe, on Monday. And I'll be back home. So we'll talk more about this vacation then. Enjoy your weekend. Stay safe. And see you guys in a bit. Thanks for tuning in. If you haven't yet already, hit the like button, subscribe. You know how it goes. And we'll see you later. Bye for now.